what are your 5 senses?
Smelling.
Smelling is 1.
Touch.
Touch is 2. Seeing is 3.
Hearing.
Hearing is 4.
Tasting.
Tasting is 5. That's how our brains, our computers, get all of our information. And it goes in, and then it gets stored in our memory. It's like drawers in your kitchen. Now sometimes, raise your hand if your family has a junk drawer, where you just throw everything in and you can't find anything and you just keep pulling and pulling. Okay, yeah, I've got some junk drawers too. Sometimes the information doesn't get organized in the right drawer. You just throw it in a big junk drawer. And so we have to do things. Well, let me back up a little bit. Let me ask you one more question. We're talking about memory. We're talking about how we learn, and we're talking about babies. And they learn through their 5 senses. And you guys, lots of you raise hands, and you have little brothers and sisters. And guess what? What are they always doing? They're always seeing, touching, tasting, right? They're putting information in their computers and they're building up their memory. Now, how many of you, raise your hand, no one else talking, how many of you guys ride a tricycle? Okay, hands down. How many of you ride a 2-wheeler with training wheels? Yeah. And, hands down, how many of you can ride a 2-wheeler without training wheels?
No. I
It's
can't.
hard. Okay, hands down, mouth's closed. Okay, so when lots of you raised your hand when you rode a tricycle. When you were putting all that information, when you were touching, tasting, smelling, feeling, hearing, because you hear the road, right? You hear, you see everything. You are touching things. It's making memories. And when you practice, you are seeing, you're hearing, you're touching, and you're pedaling 2 feet, right? You had to think about that. You had to think about steering so you didn't run off the road. You had to think about everything. And then practice, and your brain made really strong paths, and you didn't have to think about it anymore. And you weren't running off the road because you made super strong paths in your brain, and it went from something you have to think about to something that is automatic. And then when you learned a new thing, when you went to the 2-wheel bike with the training wheels, you had to go back and you had to think about those things again. And then those of you that don't have training wheels, after a while it got automatic, and you added balance to it because you didn't have the training wheels to help you with the balance. You added more things to it, you practiced, and you have super strong paths, and now you don't have to think about it. Same with, I don't know if you remember because it was a long time ago, but if you remember learning how to push yourself on a swing and kick out.
Yeah, I do.
You can see when they're babies, you can see their little brains thinking about, oh, I can't, I need a push. And then all of a sudden they get into the rhythm and it becomes automatic, and then they don't have to think about it anymore. The same happens when we're learning to read and we're learning to do math. We are making paths in our brain, and the more we practice and the more we put things together, then the more automatic it becomes. So when you're in 3rd and 4th grade and then 5th grade, you start to type, not only if you work really hard and you make strong paths now, when you get in 5th grade, you won't even have to think about the words. You'll just be like, oh, bicycle, and you'll just spell bicycle, because it'll be in your automatic memory. And what Mr. Ricketts and I put together a song with all of the letters and all of the sounds in the English language. And we did that so that you would see it, hear it, write it, but here's a big thing that happens. Put your hands down. Okay, this is what? You can tell me. What is
Warm
it?
fuzzy.
Oh, it's a warm fuzzy. Okay. Let me pick something else. Okay, that doesn't have a special name. Okay.
Jag the Jaguar.
All right, this is Jag the Jaguar.
Jazz.
Jazz the Jaguar. Okay. Is this Jazz the Jaguar? Is this Jazz?
No. Yes.
Is it still Jazz?
Yes.
Yeah, whether you can see it or not, is it still Jazz?
Yes.
Is it Jazz now?
Yes.
Is it Jazz over here?
Yes.
Is it Jazz here?
Yes.
It's always Jazz, right? That's because Jazz is three-dimensional. You can see all around him. Guess what? Paper and pencil is two-dimensional. If I turn this P upside down, it's no longer a P.
It's a D.
It's a D. Smart, smart, smart. That's right.
Yes.
A bat or a donut. That's right. So, we go from learning, and we're 3D thinkers. We're touching, tasting, feeling, smelling, and then we get to school, and things are two-dimensional. But guess what? We were created to be three-dimensional, right? And you know who keeps being three-dimensional?
God.
Oh my goodness.
God.
You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And scientists, the people that invent things, artists, and musicians.
That they paint.
Yeah. Because you're using you're using all of your five senses to create new things. And guess what?
Acrobats.
Acrobats, yep, the gymnasts and the
Gym.
gym and your athletes.
And my mama and dada.
Yep. So, and
Sister.
now listen carefully, we get more comments. Your 3D thinkers are the ones that see problems and find solutions before everybody else even knows there is a problem. Because they're so smart. So we have to keep how God created